Just want to kick it off tonight. My name is State Representative Matt Smith, and this is now the second electric deregulation event that I put on. And the nature of it is, there's a law that was passed in 1996 that created basically a free market for electric suppliers. And at that particular time, there were rate caps placed on the rates that you would pay for your electricity. Those rate caps were extended, but unfortunately a lot of those rate caps throughout the Commonwealth have started to come off. And that's increased prices, and it's also increased the opportunity that you have to shop around. And I've heard from a lot of folks who are confused about the information that you've been receiving from different suppliers. Some folks think it's junk mail. Some folks don't necessarily understand all the information that's being conveyed. And what we're trying to do with these electric deregulation events is to provide you, as a consumer, with the information that you need to make the most informed decision. And that's what we're here for tonight. We have a representative from the Pennsylvania Public Utility Commission who's going to talk about your choices and introduce you to a website. I think it's PA Power Switch, www.papowerswitch.com. That will make the process much easier in terms of understanding the information you receive. We also have representatives for West Penn Power, formerly Allegheny Power, now West Penn Power, to provide you with information, and also Duquesne Light. So those three individuals from the Pennsylvania Public Utility Commission, from West Penn Power, and from Duquesne Light will be able to provide you with information. And then at the end, or if you have questions during their presentations, feel free to ask. There will be a Q&A period at the end, but you might have questions during their respective presentations. Feel free to ask a question. And I would ask our presenters, so the folks at home can hear, just try and paraphrase the question into the microphone so people at home will be able to understand it as well. But I want to thank all of you for coming, and without further ado, I want to bring up our first presenter, who is Christina Chase Pettis, from the Pennsylvania Public Utility Commission. As I said, Christina will introduce us to a website, papowerswitch.com. So without further ado, I'll bring up Christina. Thank you. Yeah.
Again, my name is Christina Chase Pettis, and I work for the Pennsylvania Public Utility Commission. And I've been there for about 12 years now. I love my job, I love what I do. I love consumers, I love talking to everyone to make sure they understand the utility issues and solve problems. What I'm here today to talk about is called PA Power Switch. How many in the room are familiar with the website? Have you ever heard of it before? Raise your hand. Wow. Okay. PA Power Switch is a website that the Pennsylvania Public Utility Commission developed to help people shop for electricity. And I can truly tell you, I live in Harrisburg, and I live in the PPL territory. And I'm going to tell you, when my rate caps went off this summer, I was scared to death, and I didn't work as a public utility commission because there was 32 suppliers hitting me with information. I had 32 suppliers email me information and mail me information and switch over to them. So I was a little nervous. I didn't know what I was getting myself into. But once I got through it, I understood it, and now it's easier for me to come out and deliver it to you. PAPowerswitch.com. If you go onto our website, you would go on for the QC website, but you go on from PAPowerswitch.com. And if you know your zip code, that's all you need to know. Believe it or not, we first started off by asking people who their electric company was. And you wouldn't believe how many people really didn't know who their electric company was. So what we did was we decided that we would use the zip code. Everybody knows your zip code, correct? Yes, no, maybe? Yeah. Okay. I want you guys to get excited and let's talk back to each other and have some fun. But if you do know your zip code, that's all you need to know. When you go on to our PAPowerswitch.com website, the first first thing you're going to see is a plug, an electric cord showing you a bunch of numbers. And that bunch of numbers is over 1 million. And what you'll see there is telling you how many people actually switched in the state of Pennsylvania. So that gives you a little bit more security on switching, okay? The next thing you're going to go to is if you want a power switch, you're going to click on that icon that tells you that you want a power switch. When you click on that icon, what it's going to ask you next is it's going to ask you for your zip code. I feel like it's not on here. It doesn't. I usually have to go back. I guess my mouth is big enough. Okay, again, when you go on to our website, you're going to type in your zip code. And once you type in your zip code, it's going to ask you, it's going to come up either West Penn Power or Duquesne Light. How many people in the room are West Penn Power? Oh, very good. Okay, and how many people in the room are Duquesne Light? Okay, so once you know who you are, you're going to click on that icon. Okay, now I did give you guys a bunch of papers, and I'm so sorry, and I promise you I've used some bags of papers for me. But everyone should pull out their 3 components of their electric service back sheet. It's a 3 components. It has the illustration of your big components. If you don't have one, it's in the back, and maybe someone on that's here in the back will help get it out. The only thing I want to tell you about this fact sheet is it tells you exactly what you're choosing. You have 3 portions of your electric service. Okay, you have your generation, transmission, and distribution. Everyone set now? Right, there's 3 components to electric service: generation, transmission, and distribution. How many people in the room can tell me what you're choosing, what you're buying? What are you out there shopping for? Very good. For generation. So that is actually the company that actually produces the electricity, puts it onto the energy grid. From there, West Penn Power or Duquesne Light delivers it to your home. So you're always going to have electricity if you power switch. So don't worry about that. If you power switch, don't ever think that you will not have electricity. The only way that you won't is if you don't what? Pay your bill. And I'm sure everyone in this room pays their bills. Okay, from when we get to the PA Power Switch website and we type in our zip code, you're gonna, once you type in your zip code and just say, for example, you are a West Penn Power customer, you're gonna click on that West Penn Power icon. When you click on that, you're gonna get this other fact sheet that I delivered to you, and it says PA Power Switch on the top, and it says shop for your home on the top. Does everybody see that? If you don't, I guarantee you there's some in the back, so we'll keep it moving. I try to get it out to mostly everyone in the room. If people in the room have one and would like to share with your name and doesn't, that'll help us out a little bit. But if you go on, you're a West Penn Power customer, okay? Once you get onto that website, it's going to ask you also for how many kilowatt hours you use per month. The numeric number that we use is 700. Okay, so what your illustration shows is we use 700. If you want to get a true apples to apples comparison, you're going to type in your actual usage, and you find that right on your bill. When you type in your actual usage, it's going to change those figures to match what you use versus what you would be paying your other suppliers, so you choose another supplier. There are key things that you want to look at, okay? It's going to give you all the suppliers that are available, and for West County Power, there's 6 suppliers that are available for you to choose from. For Duquesne Light customers, before you shop, you have to know your rate class. We have 3 different rate classes. Okay, how many in the room that's a Duquesne Light customer know if they're a residential service customer? Just raise your hand. Okay. If you are, there are suppliers out there for you to shop. Okay. If you're a heat pump customer, you might as well just stay where you are for now, because your prices are low already. Okay. But what you want to do is you want to look. If you are a West Penn Power customer, and I'm only going to use that because I could go on for like 2 hours if I explain on both sides. If you are a West Penn Power customer, look on the right-hand side of the fact sheet that I gave out. You're going to see some numbers there. You'll see 57, 48, 53, 83, 46, 20. That is your actual price to compare. Okay? So if that price is lower than what that top portion is at West Penn Power, then you know you're going to save some money if you choose one of those suppliers. If that price is higher, then you know you're not going to save money. You're just choosing another supplier that you just want to do business with. But in order for you to really tell what you want, you have to know as a customer what your goal is. If anyone in the room, tell me if your goal is to save money on your electric bill. Okay, mine was too. My daughter goes to Penn State and boy, was I trying to save a penny. I didn't care what it was. If it was a penny, I was looking at that supplier. What I did, because I had 32 suppliers to look at, you guys have either 6 or 8, depending on, who you have as your generation, as your electric companies in your area. The first thing that I looked for was the price. So what I did, I'm just going to give you an example of how I narrowed it down. What I did was I chose 3 suppliers that had the lowest price. And the next thing I was looking for was whether there was a cancellation fee or a non-cancellation fee. Now, some companies, I want you to know on our sheet it tells you whether they have a cancellation fee or not. Some companies may not have a cancellation fee. If that's what you're looking for, you keep moving on. Some companies do have a cancellation fee. Each company is different. It's just like your cell phone. You roll into a cell phone carrier. You decide you're with ABC cell phone carrier and you want to go to XYZ cell phone carrier because we're cheaper, and you try to back out of that contract. What do? They have you pay a cancellation fee. But don't get confused if a supplier does not have a cancellation fee, they may have a penalty fee for something. So you want to make sure you ask those questions whether they have a cancellation fee and a penalty fee. The reason why I'm saying that is because we got so many calls where people were told us that they told us that they didn't have a cancellation fee, but I found another supplier, so I switched over and now I'm being penalized. So that cancellation fee and that penalty fee are 2 different charges. Okay? If you look at another fact sheet that I gave you, it's taken action, it's the orange one. On the back of that fact sheet, on the top of it, there's 12 questions. There's 12 questions on that. And I can tell you that Christina Chase Pettit, when I called my suppliers before I chose who I wanted, I asked them every single question on the back of this fact sheet. And I'm telling you this now because if you ask these questions, you cannot go wrong on making an informed, confident choice. Because if you take the 3 suppliers that you actually wanted to do business with, and you go through these 12 questions, and I call them the live questions, you're going to know whether you want to do business with them or not. Because one of the questions is there a cancellation fee? One of the questions is there a penalty fee? One of the questions is, are you licensed by the PUC? All of the suppliers on our website are licensed by the PUC. So you'll be just fine if you choose one of those suppliers. You want to ask them that, though. You want to be confident, and you want to know that they are licensed by the PUC. It also asks how long your term is. How long is this agreement going to be? Just like your cell phone. So if you're a supplier that you're interested in offering a year, then maybe you want to go with them, because they already won a couple of questions that you were looking at anyway. Some companies also have a fixed rate, and some companies have a variable rate. I was looking for a company that had a fixed rate. That's just my preference. Some companies offer the variable rate, and it might be a good thing for people who like to watch it and see, if they're gonna, if the price is gonna go up or down. On our website, that one sheet that I gave you that shows you the different choices, that shows you all the suppliers, you're gonna see a lockbox on there. That lockbox, if it's open, what does that mean? Variable, very good. If it's closed, what does that mean? Fixed rate. So there's another answer to one of your questions on the back of this fact sheet, okay? Those are the most important things that I can tell you that you're going to want to look for before you make your decision. There's no rush in making a decision. If you have anybody come to you door to door, I'm having that, where suppliers are going out door to door and, explaining what their product is. It's all good, it's all great, it's all good. You listen to them. But you also make sure that they show their ID, that they're from whoever they're from. You also don't want to, if they ask you to pull out your electric bill, don't do it. You don't need your electric bill to talk to this supplier marketing rep, okay? What's happening, and I'm only saying it, I'm not saying that it's a bad thing, but I just want to warn you, I want you to be protected, I want you to be smart consumers. What's happening is, you might be impressive at the time while that person's there. If you show your electric bill and they get your account number and you say, okay, well maybe I will switch, blah, 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 and you say that and they take your account number and they're going to switch you over. So you want to make sure that you sleep on that. Unless you're totally confident and you did all your homework and you know exactly, okay, this is a coincidence, XYZ company came to my home. I was already looking at you, come in, let's talk about it, and you decide if you want to give your account number and you're confident in your choice, then you do that. If you're not confident in your choice, please do not do that. Okay?
Another question?
Sure.
Is a contract signed in a home canceled within 48 hours anyway?
Yes. And that was my next thing. He asked if a contract signed in your home canceled in 48 hours. It can be. What happens is, even if you do sign a contract, sir, they're going to actually send you one in the mail to verify that everything that you agreed to is what you agreed to, okay? And you're going to sign that and send it back. Once you send that back, then you'll be switched over.
In the meantime, they won't switch you over. It's just a mechanical problem.
Right. But a lot of people, wait for 2 days or whatever, and don't realize that they, made a decision to switch over. It's really not a bad thing. And excuse me, sorry. I can tell you that when I first started to try to decide whether I was going to switch or not, it was just a couple of cents that I was saving. And I thought, this is a lot to me because, we have a daughter who's in college and we're trying to make it the best way we can like everybody else. And I thought, this is a good thing. But I have a husband that if it's not $100, forget it. So in order for me, are you hugging your husband? Do you have a similar experience? I'm going to give you an example, and you guys tell me whether you feel this is worth it or not. I'm just going to generic number. I was with a company that I paid 10 cents per kilowatt hour. Okay? I was looking at a company that was charging 9 cents per kilowatt hour. So I was only going to... Are you sure on the package? You look like you're about that. I was only going to save a penny. Okay? So I took that penny, and I'm a high user, so I use about 1,000 kilowatt hours per month. So But if you're willing to try to save a couple dollars on your bill, then you shop around and make that choice. If you feel like you still have questions and you're just not sure, you call the PUC, and our 800 line is right on all your literature. Every piece of paper I gave you, our numbers on it. If you call us, you call the 800 line. You'll get a representative that will walk you through exactly what I'm walking you through now. They will also send you literature if you need literature. You make sure before you decide to sign that contract that you're confident in what you're doing. Okay? And I can tell you, if you go home tonight and you go on our PA Power Switch website, it's going to be fun. It has a lot of information on it too. And it is kind of fun because you're actually shopping around like you're shopping for electricity. And I don't know how bad that sounds, but to me it was. And you'll feel better about your choices because you know. And if you're on our website, you're licensed by the PUC, so they're good to go. From there, you already have a sense of security. Is that correct? Would you have a sense of security if you see them on our website? Then from there, you're just going to choose like what you're looking for. If you're looking for a company that's going to save you money, then you're going to start with there. If you're looking for a company that is saving the environment, where you want to go with a renewable company, you're going to start there. If you're looking for a company that only has fixed rates, you're going to start there. So for you, because you have 8 to 6 suppliers, it's a little easier for you guys to kind of make your apples to apples comparison. Okay, I did give you a lot of information and a lot of literature, and I have a whole bunch in the back, and I'll take a couple questions right now. Yes.
I just had a guy from the electric company come today and to check my meter. So I have like a 15 months readout of all of the kilowatt hours. So should I do like, fourth grade arithmetic? Should I add up all those hours and divide by 15 to get the number of kilowatt hours I use?
You could.
Because this is really varying. I mean, some months it was horrendous, especially when the rates went, and some less.
What I would do to make it a little easier for you,
Okay.
you didn't shop it, right? You didn't.
No.
Okay.
This was my current provider.
Okay, what I would do is look at my highest month and use my highest month as my example.
Oh, that's horrible.
What?
It's horrible. It's like it's $400.
Okay, well that's a good example because guess what? You're going to be one of those like me. Instead of saying saving $120, you're going to save at least $5 something. I mean a year after you do your calculation.
Okay.
So if you start with the highest usage, you're going to feel a little better about what your comparison.
That's great. Thank you.
You're welcome. Yes.
I have a question on the generation, transmission, and distribution. If I would switch, are those charges going to remain the same, no matter what the rate is?
Your generation and transmission is going to be lumped in from your new supplier. Your distribution charge is going to remain the same, right?
If the rate is going to be lumped in, in other words, it's going to be a different fee.
No, it's whatever your choice is. It's going to be lower, like or higher, whatever your choice is.
Okay, well,
But if you're
say
asking,
one is lower, can I expect then the generation and transmission charges to be lower? Or-
yes,
And the distribution
it would
will
stay the same.
stay the same?
Exactly.
That's what
I'm sorry, I was right.
That's fine.
Another thing I want to say real quick is I was another customer that didn't want 2 bills, and that's part of the Bible questions on the back of that fact sheet. I wanted to know whether they billed through my company, who happens to be TPL, or were they going to bill me separately for the generation charge. And they actually billed all one bill. So they billed through PPL. I didn't want another bill. So that's the question you also want to ask. Do you bill through the company that you're with now, or am I going to get a separate bill? Okay, yes. We got a yellow, then I'll get you.
Yes, I'd like you to keep in mind in Harrisburg that it's been the tendency of all these local governments to assume everybody has a computer, go online for this, go online for that. we will need to continue to have hard copies.
Right.
The governor's office was absolutely amazed 2 weeks ago. They found out that 31% of the people over 60 don't have a computer and don't want one. So please continue to give us hard copies so us old guys can filter through the maze of goodness.
Okay. And you know what? I might come back and hug you because guess what? We were going through all this and we were discussing our website. There were people in our office that kind of looked at the website. Us educators that go out and talk to you guys all the time, we said, hey, look, we still need hard copies, we still need fact sheets, we still need things to give to people because not everyone in the state of Pennsylvania has a computer. So we do keep that in mind. And if you need a hard copy of anything, again, call our 800 line and we'll mail it to you. Okay? Yes.
How often are you allowed to switch?
You can switch as often as you like, but remember, if you have a cancellation fee, you're going to be paying that cancellation fee every time you switch. If you have a penalty fee, you're going to be paying that penalty fee every time you switch. Unless you wait till the contract's up. Yes.
I have two questions. First, we have to get money, okay? And then because to fix everything, there was fixing in our township. And now is at our convenience spot. And because we fixing everything, well here, our lights went on at 3 o'clock in the afternoon for over 3 hours. Then at night at 3 o'clock in the morning, it went on again. Then at 5:10, it went on again. And I'm tired of fixing clocks. And oxygen machines going off, and CPAP and bypass machines going off all at once. And getting up to the clinic and looking for that wind-up alarm clock. I mean, everybody has to fix all this.
I understand. And I truly understand. Now tell me this. Tell me that you called the bill to UC.
But it wasn't 4 days this time, so I'm happy with that.
But tell me this. Did you call the PUC?
No.
Okay. The reason why I'm saying that is because I hear stories like this all the time, and I truly understand. I would be saying part one. Okay, well, what I want you to do, that's a quality of service issue. And that's something that we need to hear about. PUC needs to know all these people are out of service and, how often this is happening and how many times throughout the day. We need to know that. So I would like you to, if it ever happens again, please call the PUC and just file a complaint. Okay?
And then part two is, like, if you do switch over to another company, what's going to happen with your rates? I mean, you might sign up for a low rate, but at the end of that term, in 1 or 2 years, it might go sky high.
And that's a perfect question because what happens,
fees on top of that.
I understand. What happens is right before your term's up, like 2 months before your term is up, you're going to get a letter from your new supplier, the supplier that you chose. They're going to tell you what their rate is going to be after your term's up. You're going to decide whether you're going to stay with them or not. So if you decide if the term is higher and they're more, you tell them you don't want to go with them anymore and you'll default back to the King Light or West End Power. And then you start all the way. No, it's not. You're not canceling because your term is almost up. They sent you the letter to say this is what our price is going to be as of December 1 when your term is up. You're going to then, if the term is higher, you're going to say, I don't want to still continue with you. You're going to tell them that you're not renewing the contract. You're going to default back to West Penn or King Light, and then you'll just start your whole process.
And well, you have heart failure worse than
No.
that.
No, you should not. You should not. And please, please, you don't even, I don't necessarily say file a complaint. Just let us know about these things because we don't necessarily know all the incidents that we don't follow.
I think the second, third time short time. Yeah. But the first one, it was like 4 hours. And it went on at 3 o'clock in the afternoon.
And that's
So sunny days.
I'm sorry.
No accidents in the neighborhood. It holds. Okay?
If you call PUC, will you talk to a human being?
Yes, you should I was going to talk to the meeting. I'm out in the field a lot, but I will call you back. I'll check my messages, I check them every day. I do call consumers back to that issue. But yes, you should talk to me. We have a huge call center. You usually get it. What's the number? My direct line is 717 772 8884. And my name is Christina Jason. Christina. The last name is Chase, C-H-A-S-E. Bennett. My father had all girls, and I'm starting to keep my maiden name, so that's why I'm saying Chase. I think my time is up.
Well, except there are other questions.
Okay, I'm going to come in late now. I choose another company. My contract is up. I default to Duquesne Life.
If you don't renew your
I default. But what if I want to choose another carrier?
then you just choose another carrier, sign up with that other carrier, and then you switch over.
So, but I can have time. I can still default to Duquesne Life maybe
Right.
next month.
And the reason why, right, and the reason why you default is so you always have an electricity. Okay?
I got a letter about 2 weeks ago. Duquesne Life was running a pilot program for surveying basically peak versus non-peak to see, if people would change their habits, I guess it's not. Is that something that's only going to go on the distribution side, or is there anything in the generation side that any of these companies are offering that their rates are split depending upon when you're actually using?
They do have different rates, some of them, so that would be a question when you ask, when you decide you're going to switch to another supplier, you're going to tell them what's being offered to you now and whether they offer anything like that. So that's a question you have to ask for the generation.
You talk residential or business?
Residential.
Any other questions?
Is it 20 years?
Say it again.
Is it going 1 year?
It could be 1, it could be 2. So there again, it could be 3. There again, it's a question on the back. If you guys hold up that fact sheet I told you again. Just consider those 12 questions your Bible questions. You can't go wrong if you ask those questions. Because the question that you have, you ask that question to that new supplier, you're going to have your answer. Okay? Yes?
Yeah, I'm a Duquesne Light customer, and I'm looking currently at a bill here, a current bill, and I don't see any breakdown at all in anything that you handed out that explains what this bill is. And where on this bill does it show what I'm paying for the generation clause?
I can, after we're done,
I didn't know if it would be on the website.
yeah, I'll take you back to the show. I'll
Okay.
take it to you.
When we have a rep for Duquesne Light here, they'll come up after us and talk about any specific bills you can show Christina, or you can show Diane from West Henry, you can show Bill from Duquesne.
Oh, I'm sorry.
I think the microphone's off again. Yeah. That's why I can't hear too well. A different microphone.
Oh, I'm sorry. I feel like this is I apologize.
That sounds nice.
This one's on. I'll move that.
Why don't you all have a seat up there and relax? Use those microphones.
All right, I'll just try this for you. Any more questions for me? Yes.
Yeah, you mentioned the Duquesne Light and Western Power represented here tonight. How come the other suppliers don't like their name right?
I'm not really sure if they were.
Yeah, and the way I understand it, they're the primary transition point for Bethel. The supplier, I think, is a different question. I mean, the supplier are the 6 to 8 that Christina referenced. We didn't want to sort of inundate you basically with sales pitches from the 6 to 8 suppliers. Our goal was to sort of provide you with the basic information so that you could go out and ask the suppliers the informed questions.
And I can tell you that if you call us, and we have done PA Power Switch events where we do invite the PUC, we invite your electric company, and we invite the suppliers. We just had one in Robinson Town Hall last week, and it was wonderful. And the suppliers were there, and you could go around and talk to them. So we're trying to do that throughout the state, and if you'd like us to come here and do something like that, give us a call, and we'll try to arrange it for you.
Yeah, that's what I was so initial, because the website's so stamped already. I just wanted to kind of talk to them and then go from there.
Yeah, we can certainly do follow-up meetings and seminars where we actually sort of, I mean, this is really the initial step, and just make sure folks have the basic information. And then once we do that, convey that, then I think we get into the actual suppliers and the differences in price and what they may be able to offer. As Christina said, some are focused more on renewable energy, some not so much, and that can give you a little bit better idea as to the difference between the suppliers. So I think that's a good idea.
What's the deadline that you have to make?
There's no deadline. There's no deadline.
Some of the questions I want to say,
And it's only when you see that, that's just an incentive or a special offer they're offering. They might be saying, if you sign up today, we'll send you a check for $50 and this expires so and so day. So that doesn't change. Or it could change. It depends on what that postcard is telling you. But there's no forceful time in which it takes time to make that decision.
These alternative suppliers, do they actually supply the electricity? These became like
Right. What they do is they supply the electricity for the Pennsylvania grid. Okay, and that is put on our grid, and then from there it's pulled from the grid to King Light or Western Power to the computer. Okay, yes.
First one is Energy Solutions. I went on to the PA State US website.
Okay.
They're on there, so what's been I got one on there, now it's signed up to the end of 2013.
Okay.
But it says you must apply for us prior to the first of August.
Okay, so that's
If I apply for that prior to the first of August, I don't want to risk it then on August the 2nd, saying we're lower the rate.
you could. It's just like a mortgage. You could. I want to give you one more thing before I close. Not only can you save money by switching to a company that actually costs less to supply your energy, you can also save money by being a little more energy efficient or being a lot more energy efficient. And I'm going to give you just a couple I'm just going to go over 4 tips. And I can tell you, when I discussed this with my husband, he works for IBM, he just is all into the computer world, so he just thinks computers to lower your reads and lower your electricity bill, whatever. But it is habit. We have to actually get a better habit. And I'm just going to give you 4 examples. Okay, they're very minor. If you close your vents in unused rooms around your house, you can save about $100 a year. If you close vents in rooms that you're not using, you can save about $100 a year. And this is something that I tell my daughter all the time when she comes home from break and she still never does it, and that's why my electric bill is sky high because all the lights are on and everything's on and she's doing something. But this is one thing that I get on her about all the time. If you clean your clothes dryer vent every time you use it, that's your vent, you can save about $66 a year. Okay? If you take showers, now that's only a 7-minute shower, but we low flow shower head. Instead of baths, you can save about $28 a year. If you lower your thermostat between 65 and 68, now I keep mine at like 68. degrees in the winter and between 76 and 78 in the summer, you can save about $85 a year. So altogether, just those 4 tips, and we have a whole website full of tips that's going to even save you more money. That comes up to $279 a year, just for 4 little things. So your $279 plus your power switch, you save 1 cent per kilowatt hour. You can save some money. All these little things start adding up, and you'll start seeing the difference. Okay. Any more questions? Solar. Absolutely. What? You can save money? Oh, yeah. Oh, you have it? So you have. Oh, great. Where do you live? That's great.
Could you repeat the statement? I didn't hear.
He's saying about solar. Save through solar. Using solar energy. He has 8 panels.
Oh, panels on the roof?
9 panels.
On the roof. Would you get a credit for the electricity you generate?
That's how he's.
Yeah, we can chat about that. First of all, thank you, Christina. Christina will stick around for the rest of the seminar. So if you have any specific questions as we sort of move along with West Penn and with Duquesne, Christina will be here towards the end. So let her know if anything pops in your mind. I always say with these seminars, I think that the interesting thing that I've learned is really that this is about whether you want to assume a certain amount of risk with a variable rate or lock in a fixed rate. It really depends on your individual or your family circumstances, what your level of risk might be, whether you want to take on a lot of risk, whether you don't want to take on risk. You might want to save a couple of bucks every month, and that might be of some value to you. So this is just to get you the information so that you can make these informed decisions. And with that, we'll go to West Penn Power, Duquesne Light, and I'm going to bring up Diane Holder from West Penn Power to talk a little bit about the name change from Allegheny Power to West Penn Power, and also answer any of your specific questions you might have about West Penn. Just so Diane knows, again, how many folks here are West Penn Power customers? Okay, great. All right, thanks, Diane.
I've worked for the power company for 18 years, and why I say the power company and not the name is because in those 18 years we've had some name changes, and I just wanted to make mention of that because I think some of that is part of the confusion that exists. When I started 18 years ago, it was West Penn Power. That was the local distribution company. And by local distribution company, we mean the company that delivers it to your home, the poles and the wires. If you live in a plan where the facilities are underground and you have the green boxes sitting in your yard, that's the local distribution company. And it was named West Penn Power. It was owned by a parent company called Allegheny Energy. And it continued to be West Penn Power until 1996. And in 1996, the parent company, Allegheny Energy, decided that they were going to rename that distribution company, and that's when we became Allegheny Power. And that's been Allegheny Power since 1996. That's kind of what we've all been familiar with, the name. However, in February of this year, we completed a merger with First Energy. First Energy is a large utility. They're based out of Akron, Ohio, and they decided that they actually this is consistent with what they do in other areas. They like to have a local name to show that they are committed to having a local presence in the community. And at that time, they decided that we were going to be West Penn Power again. So now we're West Penn Power again, but our parent company is different. It's First Energy. And I mentioned First Energy. The corporate headquarters are in Akron, Ohio. However, West Penn Power headquarters, the local distribution company, it is more local. It's a little bit further from here, but it's in Greensburg, Pennsylvania. The president of West Penn Power, that's where he works. That's where all of his staff and management work as well. So I think even as a West Penn Power customer myself, I think that's a good thing when, you know, for the most part, decisions on local issues are still being made locally. So that's kind of the background. That's the differences in the names. First Energy has us as a local distribution company, and they also have 9 other local distribution companies, so they have a total of 10. The other company that I'm sure if you've been shopping is First Energy Solutions that you've probably heard of. We at West Penn Power, on the distribution side, we don't really have any contact with them. They don't have any contact with us. The only thing is we have the same parent company, First Energy. So First Energy Solutions is a competitive generation supplier. So I know the question had come up before, but that's kind of the relation to us as West Penn Power. Here tonight, I have just kind of a blown-up bill, and the intent was not for you to be able to read the numbers. I just wanted to kind of point on here where to find some of the information on your own bills. There's actually 2 bills here. The one bill on the left is a customer that did not choose a competitive supplier, so that's kind of how it appears. And the one on the right, they did choose a competitive supplier. On both bills, what you'll see right here is called the price to compare, and that's what you're, when you're shopping, that's the number that you want to look for on your bill. It's also on the website, and it appears right there on this bill. It shows, regardless of whether you have chosen a competitive supplier, or if you have, in this case, or if you have not. It's always going to be on there every month. Now, if you did choose a competitive supplier, what is also on there is your generation and transmission charge, which is 0.0643 per kilowatt hour. That's what's showing here. That's the number that you want to look and compare up to the price to compare. So this person chose ABC Energy Supplier, and they're paying about 6.4 cents per kilowatt hour. Had they not chosen anybody, the price they would have paid is shown here at 7.25 cents. So that's just kind of to give you an idea of how things will look on your bill. For the most part, I believe, I learned a little bit. I didn't know that some suppliers would actually result for you in having 2 bills. I didn't know that, but I thought for the most part, I think we can get their charges onto our bills. The other thing I wanted to point out is your kilowatt hour usage. Down here in these boxes, we have, normally we put on here your average monthly usage. So we have your average monthly usage for all of last year. We have it for the last bill, and then your current average monthly usage. So that kind of is another way to kind of gauge how much you're actually using, the amount of kilowatt hours that you're using. So when you're doing your calculations and seeing how much you can potentially save, that's a good idea to look there. The other thing I wanted to mention, just as a shopper myself, we recently were looking to see, who we would be choosing or if we would be choosing. And personally, I love those 12 questions. I had not seen them, and a lot of the ones that I was concerned with were on there. And I do feel it is a personal preference as to how much risk you're willing to assume, as in anything you buy. I mean, as others have said, even in a mortgage, there's mortgages with fixed rates and mortgages with variable rates, and it's the same here. The things that I definitely looked at was if there was any kind of early penalty fee, if I would leave the contract early. I wanted to know that. And then the term of the contract. Since this is kind of new, I thought, well, maybe I'll try it out and, maybe just sign for a year. But then, of course, when I actually did the shopping, of course, 3-year contracts sometimes have a slightly better price, at least currently, they kind of do. So it's just a personal decision, what you're comfortable with. And it goes without saying with anything you would purchase. That's just something that it's personal and it's about how you feel about making the decision that you're about to make. The other thing I want to mention, this price to compare, that's basically the price you're charged if you don't select a supplier. And what happens is, in our case, at West Penn Power, we are mandated to purchase power in advance. Like, we've purchased power, and we've estimated how many customers are not going to switch into the next couple years. We've purchased blocks of power, and we do this by participating in auctions. Basically, that's what's happening. And you will see that it's not going to fluctuate a lot, but it'll change quarterly because typically we're participating in those auctions quarterly. So you will see a little bit, like this bill here on the left was a March bill, and the price to compare was 7.12 cents. The bill on the right was a July, and it did go up to 7.25 cents. So, and what you don't know is what it's going to be in the next quarter or whatever. So, a lot of times, I think the 1-year contract, the fixed price contract, at least you know what that price is going to be. So that's one thing I just wanted to point out. Sometimes the price to compare will be higher than, like on this example, it was lower. The generation supplier example here, we have it 6.43 cents, and the price to compare is 7.25. But sometimes, your price that you're paying that supplier may be higher. And I was trying to think of reasons why that would ever occur. And one of the reasons would be if you are on a variable price contract, it could be higher 1 month, but next month it could be much lower than the price to compare. So that's one reason. The other reason, too, is there are some suppliers that provide renewable generation, like generation that comes from renewable sources. Sometimes, not always, but those prices can be a little bit higher. But in those cases, sometimes it's more important to people the way the power is produced versus the actual price of it. So I just wanted to point that out as well. Are there any questions?
I'm a West Penn Power customer.
Yes.
And I haven't switched. And my price to compare is higher than the generation charge. I thought all I'm doing if I switch is buying different generation.
Well, actually, in your price to compare, it's not just the generation charge, it's the generation and the transmission charge. However, the only competitive portion of that amount is the generation amount. The way it's been set up in Pennsylvania is they decided to tie those two together when they display it on the bill. But essentially, the transmission charge, I believe, is more or less set either mandated or by the market. So it's not really a competitive portion. So if you would add up the transmission charge into that, it should be about the same. And then the other thing, sometimes some of those taxes, I'm not real clear on what's added into there as well, but I've always come within, 0.01 of what it's appearing as when I've done that. Is there another question? Yes.
Question. If I understood you right.
Pardon me?
If I understood you right, First Energy Solutions
Yes.
is part of First Energy.
Yes,
Also,
just like West Penn.
Also owns West Penn Power.
Correct.
Well, I'm a West Penn Power customer,
Uh-huh.
and I was thinking about switching to First Energy Solutions. And my question now is, since they're all owned by the same company, why don't they just offer the same rate? I mean, why doesn't West Penn Power offer me what First Energy Solutions, their parent company, can offer?
I can't speak to that as much as saying that's kind of how the competition was set up in Pennsylvania. I mean, if we would just offer you the same rate, then we really wouldn't have various choices. I mean, if they, the point of the legislation was to give you choices, give you different suppliers to choose from. And so in your example that you were saying, it would just mean that basically West Penn Power would continue to serve you as they had been prior to this legislation. There wouldn't be a choice for you, so to speak. And the intent was when you bring additional suppliers in, I mean, it's shown, you know, when there's competition in the marketplace, prices do go down, you know, and that's the real point of this. If you have a couple people, you know, a couple different companies out there, and they're offering different rates and different structures and different contracts, you know, the whole point of this is to lower your generation charge. Yes?
Diane, I think I can help answer that. The generation portion, that First Energy Solutions, that's the deregulated side of West Penn Power First Energy, okay? She's working on the regulated side. So actually, it's really not the same company. They're parent companies, but it's almost like, how could I say, like we have Giant stores in Harrisburg, but you guys might have Martin stores. It's just, they're all owned by the same company, but they do different things. Like one sells meat, one sells, you know, kind of like that. It's, I don't know how else to explain it.
First Energy is a holding company. And then they have subsidiaries, which is First Energy Plus and West Penn.
So the First Energy Solutions is the deregulated side of their company. West Penn Power is the regulated side.
Powered by the PUC.
Yeah, they have to listen up.
And
the legislators.
Yeah, and there's a lot of rules as to our communications with people on First Energy Solutions side. And essentially, we just can't communicate with them. And that's to keep it fair to the other suppliers in the marketplace who don't have, and it would be an advantage based on the fact that we have you already as our customer. So we're not real, so when I said they're part of us, we really don't have any contact with them. And that's why, quite honestly, it's a learning experience for me too, as far as shopping and things like that.
If I would switch, I would have problems. If power were not, I would still call West Penn.
Absolutely, yes. We are still the ones to call. We're the ones that actually are bringing that power to your house. What's happening before that is, you know, that's, yeah, you would still definitely call us on those issues, yes. Yes.
Where does First Energy get their power from? Do they have a big coal-fired plant somewhere?
They have coal, they have nuclear, Alleghenies, old plants, we had some hydro, so we have a mix of different types of generation. Yes.
How is it determined, like, we have 6 choices for West Penn Power, Duquesne Light might have some of those same choices, but other choices? Who determines?
It's the particular supplier, I believe, that would choose to market their product, which would be generation, in your particular marketplace. So there's really no control over that as to, you know, other than, you know, on the PA Power Switch site, they have done some checks on those to make sure that they are registered and things like that.
So it's not West Penn that decided on these 6?
Right, correct, yeah, again, yeah, we didn't have anything to do with that.
And can more come along, or, I mean,
I believe so, yeah, it's a marketplace, as, you know, if there would be a restaurant, different restaurants want to open up, yeah, absolutely.
You're already less expensive than Duquesne as it is, correct, on your generation?
I'm not in the rate side. Recently I have not looked at that, but. Yes.
Hi, my name's Bill Volbers. I've lived in Bethel since 1963. I work for Coca-Cola. I'm a business person, but I love deregulation. We should all be excited. I think, looking around the room, everyone here probably remembers the breakup of Ma Bell. Yeah. Okay, that legislation to break up the telecom industry, same as with the utility industry, took place years before it happened. What's going on since 1996, when the state of Pennsylvania mandated the breakup of the utility industry, is these companies prevented it. They're jockeying for position, and now they've hit the wall. It's going to end. They have to try to get and keep customers. That's why we're here tonight, because we're getting bombarded by information, by phone, by mail, by people knocking on our doors saying, use me, no, use me, no, use me, no, use me, and we're confused. This is wonderful. Thank you, Mr. Smith, for having this session, just to help us clarify, because, folks, there's a whole substrata of companies beyond what we have in Bethel Park, for example, or PPL, where Christina's from, a substrata of companies for gas and electricity both that are going to beat these rates. They're not here. They're out there. We all need to get educated and look for them. There's companies out there that don't have telemarketers that call anybody, that they have to pay, or people pumping paper out in the mail to us, or people going door to door. Think about it. All that costs money. These other companies that aren't represented here, that the names we may not know readily, don't pay anyone to sit at a phone or send things out in the mail or go door to door. And they save us more money because they have less overhead. That's what's happening. When the smoke clears and the dust settles, just like it did with the telephone industry for about 10 years, customer service went way up because these companies want to keep us. We call in, they'll answer the phone within a couple minutes. Instead of today, when you call the phone company, it takes days to get someone live to answer the phone usually. See, that's all history. This is new. This is exciting. This is wonderful. This is America, and this is great because we're going to save money and get better service.
Well, I think, as Christina said, one of the ways you can go about finding that information is on the PAPowerswitch.com website, or calling the PUC. If for some reason you don't have a computer, you don't want to use a computer, call my office. We can get in touch with the PUC, or call Christina directly, and you can get that information. Again, this is, as Dave said, this is about getting you the information so that you can make the best choice for you and your family. You may want to roll the dice and go with a variable rate, or you may want to play it safe with a fixed rate, but I think the key thing to remember is that you're going to make that decision. No one's going to tell you to make that, how to make that decision. You're going to make that decision, and I think it's key, as Dave said, to have the information available to make that decision. Know the full range of options at your disposal, both in terms of price and in terms of how that power is generated. As was said earlier, you may want to pay a couple bucks more because you believe in a certain form of renewable energy. You may want to just go about it with the price. This information will be in your hands, hopefully, so you can make the best decision.
Did someone else have a question?
No, I did have a question. I think there are some virtues to regulation, to get response to this going on here. But I had another question. I don't know very much about this, but the term renewable energy.
Oh, I'm sorry. I meant things like wind power, solar power. It's kind of like the green sources of. I should have gave some examples. I'm sorry. Is there any other questions? I just want to wrap up by saying, kind of on the same note that Christina left, there's another way to save on your electric bill, not just getting a lower rate, if you reduce the number of kilowatt hours that you choose. And over here we have some energy efficient, Lori Sweatland's here from our energy efficiency group. We have some energy efficient CFL bulbs for the West Penn Power customers. For Duquesne, we can give you bags. I'm sorry, we can't give you the bulbs, but if you want to sign up, we'll need your, I'm sorry, we'll need your name and address and phone number, and you'll have to sign in over there if you'd like to take some bulbs home tonight. So, thank you.
Thanks, Diane. And Diane will be here towards the end as well if you have any specific questions as a West Penn Power customer. Last but not least, I want to bring up Bill Rowland from Duquesne Light. And just, Bill may not have been here earlier. How many Duquesne Light customers do we have? Okay, so a fair number as well. And I'll bring Bill up without further ado. He can answer any questions as it relates specifically to Duquesne Light. So without further ado, Bill Rowland.
I'll try to talk about the mic. If anybody can't hear me, let me know. My wife always calls me a loudmouth. She's probably right. The Duquesne Light, I know it's 8:15. You guys have been here a while, and so I know that the tensions can start to waver. But I'll try to be very short and sweet and be able to try to answer any questions that you have. Number one, Duquesne Light is not owned generation. So for all these companies like West Penn that has their own power plants, Duquesne Light goes out and has to buy power and then turn around and supply it to you. Duquesne Light is the only utility in the state that has a fixed price for their, what you would call default service, in that you have chosen not to shop, which I think is a choice too, but without getting into the semantics of that, our period runs now until May 2013. So your Duquesne Light price, a price to compare that you're seeing on the supply and the transmission, will not change, will not go up, and of course will not go down from now until May 2013. So when someone was saying earlier, the benefits of a year-long choice, customer choice shopping type of thing, or a 2-year, that's because they're running it based on what they're seeing from Duquesne Light. So you'll see something that says, we are going to guarantee this until May 2013. It's because they know what our price is for that period of time. So it makes sense, might make sense for you too. Again, it's all on your risk level. Are you willing to look at the market? Are you willing to go quarterly? Do you want to go a year? Some companies offer until May 2013, just like our forward program runs. After May 2013, Duquesne Light will probably never offer a fixed price of that length again. And I can explain to you why that is separately. It's really a complicated story. But as far as the rate caps, Duquesne Light's rate caps have been off since 2002. As far as trying to keep customers, we're legally prohibited from trying to do something like that. The PUC wouldn't allow us to spend $1 going out and saying you should keep Duquesne Light as your electric supplier. Duquesne Light and all utilities in the Commonwealth are indifferent to who you choose for your electric supply. It makes no difference to us. I was at one of these that Matt had Mount Lebanon some time ago, and a woman came up to me and said, a friend of mine, our family's works at Duquesne Light, will he lose his job if too many people shop? Perfectly reasonable question. It was something that I had never kind of thought of or heard before. And no, of course not. So the electric companies in this state are indifferent. And in fact, we're doing everything we can to let people know that these choices exist. The PUC has just opened up an investigation into the retail market. So over the course of the next year or two, we may be seeing some changes. And I think, and it gets into a legal opinion, a lot of these changes may have to go through the legislature. So someone like Representative Smith, who's obviously well-versed in these things, is going to be someone who's going to be a big influence on that in Harrisburg. And you guys are lucky to have him. He's a good guy. Short of that, I'd be happy to answer any of your questions. Again, Duquesne Light's period is May 2013. It will not change. Your price, your rate price on the supply and The transmission will not change. The distribution might go up and down based on our investments in the infrastructure, but short of that, Duquesne's Light's price will be what it is right now in May 2013.
What's Duquesne Light price per kilowatt hour?
You know, it's probably, it's on your bill. What that is quoted, I probably have to look at someone's bill.
7.156.
And it depends on what kind of residential service you have. But there's a price to compare, actually in the first page. Your price to compare Duquesne Light is 9.33.
Yes.
So you're basing that, when you plug that into the PA's website, or you know, if you call one of these suppliers, they'll be able to tell you, hey, here's what this means to you. So.
That 9.33 that you quoted, does that include the distribution?
No.
So the distribution is above and beyond that?
Yeah.
So when we're shopping, we're looking for only comparable price for the 930.
Yeah, and that's what it'll all be. I mean, it's an apples to apples comparison. When they show you price to compare, it's the other companies' supply and transmission as well, because the distribution, we own that system. Quite more appropriately, the Duquesne Light ratepayers who have paid into the system, we own those poles, we own those wires, and we wouldn't allow anyone to do something that we thought was unsafe and not up to our standards. So that's why.
That rate could change. We have a locked-in rate.
It probably will not, because basically what that is you have to go through what's called a distribution rate case at the PUC, and that's about a year-long process, and I don't anticipate that we'll be doing one for some time.
Now, if you, but if I have Duquesne Light now and change, then would I be penalized with fees?
Duquesne Light would not penalize you to leave or come back. And now, what you decide on with your supplier, that's totally, again, we're indifferent to it. So if you say, Duquesne Light, I'm leaving, there's a 16-day period. Somebody mentioned you sign something in your home and it's 48 hours. It's 16 days from when you sign to when you get your new bill from your new company. When you're switched over to them, it might not be exactly when you get your bill, but when you switch over to your new supplier, it's 16 days. So you have that period of time at any period to say, hey, I decided I want to go back. Just like when you get a new car, you drive off the lot and you have 72 hours or so to come back and say, I decided, kind of a buyer's remorse type of thing. So.
I have a question about generation. When you said you don't generate.
Correct.
What about, it's a name out of the past, but shipping port, for instance, and those, I thought those were generating.
They were Duquesne Light when 1996 happened, and basically all the three companies, the companies, instead of being like First Energy is, where they have a holding company, they have generation, they have retail, they have utility. Duquesne Light's just the utility. It's really it's just poles and wires. The Duquesne Light did own power plants when the rate caps came off in 2002. Duquesne Light sold all its power plants. Sir? There was another point that the young lady from the PUC made about if you're not on residential service, you're on water pump or all electric heat. Some suppliers don't care about that. They will offer you you have to talk to the supplier. But we were at the mall at Robinson, and she had mentioned they were having a PUC power switch event. And basically, what you go in the line, you walk around, and there's 6 to 8 suppliers, and Duquesne Light at the end to answer any questions you may have had or help you switch. And some of the companies do have a problem. They don't offer it to people that have heat pumps or all electric heat. Some of them do. First Energy Solutions was a company that was named on several occasions. They don't care what service you're on. So as far as you're on those things, don't worry about it. You're already getting a discount. It's not like that anymore. There was a bill passed in 2008, which is it's called Act 129. What Act 129 is going to do, it requires the electric companies to lower their demand, lower do demand-side response programs. Everyone in this room by 2013 is going to have a smart meter on their home. Okay? We're going to begin rolling them out in 2013. That smart meter is going to tell you, here's what you're using, here's the highest thing in your house that's using electricity, here's what the electricity costs at 2 o'clock, here's what it costs at 8 o'clock. So someone had mentioned earlier what that was when someone said, peak versus off-peak, as far as, obviously when everybody's working, everybody's out and about, electricity is more expensive than it is at 10 o'clock at night. We're trying to get a sampling together for a pilot program for those smart meters. But everyone pays the same. You don't pay more at 2 o'clock. We manage that risk, not you. So eventually, when you have these smart meters, you're going to have more of an array of options to say, for me and my wife, and we have 3 children, we work and the kids are elsewhere during the day. It makes sense for us to have something that a rate that during the day, we're not going to use a lot of power. We're going to do more things at night. Now, if you're an elderly person like my grandmother is, and she's at home in the middle of August on a 100-degree day, perhaps turning the air conditioner off isn't what she's going to do, and she's certainly not going to do the laundry at 10 o'clock at night. So there will be some options coming up, but conservation is the way of the future. And Duquesne Light used to have, if you had a heat pump, for example, and you used over and above a certain amount, you got a discount. It's called declining blocks. We did away with that because it wasn't in keeping with the new law that you should benefit from using a lot of power. So the future will be about use less power, and here's some tools that we think may help you in trying to do that, and rates that will make that easier for you too.
I live in an all-electric heat model. So what would be my kilowatt per hour, rate?
Well, do you pay your own bill, or does the?
Yes.
Okay. What you have right on your bill is going to be a price to compare. Okay, and it's probably a little bit less than the 9.33 we talked about earlier. Okay, because you are getting a little discount on the distribution charge. But like I say, some suppliers will offer you a discount on that, or will offer you a choice. You have to make the decision if that's what you want, but some alternative energy suppliers do not care if you're on heat pump or all electric heat. Some of them do. We ran into this problem last week, but some of them don't. Any other questions?
You don't have a list of the suppliers that are available for Duquesne Light?
Yeah, I think there was something. Yeah. I think 8's about right, and we anticipate there being more.
You can have that. I have what?
Non-basic service could be, do you have like a sewer line insurance or a gas line insurance? That's what it is. Because if you have one of those, they just bill you right through your electric bill. It's like $3, $4 a month.
Are all of the companies that are listed for generation, are they all actually generating as opposed to, like this gentleman mentioned about competition phones? Some people are actually resellers of phone minutes, or any of these resellers of power?
I'm sure. I don't know that.
And my second question then is any research done, or is it just a matter of us doing our own, to check in each company with regard to, I know that price is usually the number one, and they're talking, maybe how they're generating it.
Yeah.
But just being good corporate citizens.
You'd have to take that up on your own. I mean, obviously the PUC has a licensing process.
Right, but that's usually that's setting standards for the generation.
Correct.
That doesn't necessarily have anything to do.
Does it tell you that this is a good company? I mean,
is that information available, readily available?
You might be able to answer that better.
Would the consumer advocate have any?
Right, that's where you would start with, is consumer advocacy. And actually, you could also call us. Now, when they're licensed by the PUC, there are steps, and they have to be bonded, and they have to be, they have to be a reputable, upstanding company. If they're licensed by us, you can be sure that they're a good company. But if you want to go a little further, you can always call the Office of Consumer Advocate, and they can really get into
As far as like corporate citizenry, I mean, you may have to find that out on your own. But if that company, for example, Texas is a place where this has been successful, and if they've had companies down there go out of business, you just ship it right back to the Duquesne Light default service. It would be seamless. As far as I want to pick a company that's right does things right and does things in a common sense or as good corporate citizenship. That's probably something that the consumer advocate, Sonny Popowski, or just on your own, their own web page and kind of check some things out that way. That'd probably be my suggestion. Sir?
This is actually for Christine, if I may.
Certainly.
This may have been gone over at the beginning. I missed the first few minutes. So there are all these companies that are suppliers. So does that mean each one has a power plant? No. I just think so, but so what they? So what is the mechanism? So who owns the power? Who owns the place in Shippingport, the nuclear park? First,
You would have to ask whatever company you're questioning. If you want to know all those details about that, ask them directly. I can't tell you, the broker or whatever, I can't tell you that. I just know the places in West UBC and are offering to market supply to you. But all those ins and outs.
They don't necessarily own the plants. Right. They're so-called suppliers then. They don't actually generate, but they're called. But they say you just discussed. They could be, but they not necessarily. Not necessarily. Okay.
Yeah.
Am I wrong in that grids are all connected, correct? All of them. Basically, they're connected. So these people are actually shopping for their supply.
Right.
Am I right in saying that?
Yes. Yeah, you're going out and you're buying. You can buy it at a year-long contract. You can buy it the next day.
So they can go buy from another state, from another what's that?
Yeah, it's Pennsylvania. It's called PJM. It's Pennsylvania. It's a regional transmission organization who oversees all that. Yes, and they have these auctions that we're talking about.
From different companies.
Exactly. So I mean, just because you don't, you can go out and say, like for a lot of companies, like a big company you could devote, U.S. Steel, they're going to buy power on the hour to try to save money. Now, I don't have the ability to do that. So Duquesne Light says, okay, for a small business, we're going to give you a 6-month period. For a residential customer, we're going to give you 30 months. Now, is that the future? We'll have to see.
So they're shopping, these people are shopping for their people.
Not everyone. I mean, first, a company like this has their own generation. They're going to make their own power and they're going to sell it. But a lot of times, what will happen generally in default service doesn't happen like this in Duquesne Light, but they'll go out and say, we have this many customers, we think this is what our load's going to be, all the electricity that they're going to use. I don't mean to sound like I'm the people don't understand the words I'm saying. I'm new to Duquesne Light, I've only been there 3 years. This is a whole new vocabulary for me. So this is what our load is, this is how many customers we are, this is how many customers we think we're going to shop. Let's go out and buy the power as best that we can. Now we're going to have, it's called a portfolio. I'm going to go out and buy some day ahead, I'm going to buy some on a 3-month period, a year period, and so on, to try to get a balance of, you're going to hedge a little bit. That sort of thing. Anybody else? Ma'am?
You know what the rate is when you came out. How should I stay with you?
Well, I can't tell you to shop or not shop. I can tell you that, again, we are indifferent to what you decide you want to do. Okay? The way that Duquesne Light constructed their rate was, we thought one of the big keys was certainty. And that from when this Fuller plan went into effect in January until May 2013, the rate will never change. And a lot of people we talk to say, here's what I want from Duquesne Light. The light's on and my bill to be about what it was last month, and I don't want to deal with you anymore. Totally fine with us. That's what we thought was important. If you feel like you could make money, why wouldn't you make money? Save money, why wouldn't you save money? That would be my message.
So where do you make your money?
Gambling, mostly. We have our, we do make money on default service, on our default service.
But that's obviously not a priority.
It is not a priority. It's a very small part of
business.
Yes, I mean, how Duquesne Light makes their money, it is a small fry in the country and in the state. We're very, very small. And it's a typical how utilities operate. It's a pool, and the more usage people have, generally the more money we make. But that's not the way to the future. The way to the future is conserving and giving people the tools to conserve. So we'll adapt to that.
when the caps go off, I mean, you said it's 2013.
Well, our current service right now is until May 2013.
But there are been some.
Some have come off. I mean, Christina can speak to that. The rates came off at different points in the Northeast and the Northwest. And different PBL came off at different times.
Right.
And power.
There's been some real big drops.
Oh, yeah.
Duquesne Lights went off in 2002, and the rates actually went down a bit. Now, when I say that to people, they'll go, "That's because they were high in the first place." Some things you don't argue, but the rate caps that have been going off across the state, they're all off now. A year ago, it just depends on the market. A year ago, we were looking at 40 or 50% increases. When they came off, it was like 4%. Because they're going on buy. Generally, they go out and say, "Here's our pool. We're going to buy the power. This is how much it costs," and they totally reconcile. How much they pay is how much they take in. And it ends up being, there's a small administrative fee for all the billing and phone calls, but it's basically a total wash. Yeah. Right. Distribution is we own poles. We own the transformers. We own the lines. Yes. But we're all interconnected so that, the system has continuity throughout the region. If you won't have, there was a blackout many years ago, and it went right around the PJM region because they do a pretty decent job. So. Anybody else have any questions, sir? No, I think they've actually been, it's maybe gone up 1 or 2, but it's been pretty steady.
Well, no, that was a picture 8 months ago. I had the need to go with the recommendation of Duquesne Electric Clean Energy, but I just got my new bill.
Well, we didn't recommend that too.
Well, anyhow.
Yes.
Maybe they were good. But anyhow, that company was good for 6 or 8 months, doesn't appear anywhere.
What company is it?
It was Energy Plus Holdings LLC.
I don't know them.
And I even got, after about 2 months, $25 dividend.
You're a shareholder of that company? I don't know why you get a dividend. That's a good deal. And I'm actually out of business.
I hope you cashed it immediately.
Anybody else have any questions? I do have some CFL balls with Duquesne Light customers. You don't have to sign up or anything, but you do have to promise to vote for Matt. So. Thank you.
Before we go, Christina has one more. I think Christina has T-shirts. It doesn't look like she has enough for everyone, so I don't know how she's going to do
A lottery.
What I'm going to do is,
And Bill doesn't have that. He has one box for everyone.
About 30 years.
We'll share them.
Absolutely. Way to the future.
But before Christina goes, before everyone takes up, I just want to thank everyone for coming, number one. Most importantly, and let you know, I think the supplier idea is a great idea. They would follow up on these and provide that info. We're going to be doing another one of these exactly like this in case any of your friends or neighbors or anyone else wants to see it over at the Jewish Community Center in Scott Township on September 7th. I believe that's a Wednesday night, so 7 o'clock to 8:30 or so, just like this one. So if you can make that one, if you want any additional info you didn't get tonight, feel free to stop by.